Not every client you lose is a failure. Some of them are quietly holding your career back. In this episode, I'm breaking down what bad clients really look like, how they show up in your career, and why letting some clients go is actually a sign of growth. What's going on, world? I'm Eric D. Seals. This episode is for freelancers, filmmakers, and creatives who feel anxiety every time a client walks away. If you've ever wondered whether losing a client means you messed up, this conversation will help you reframe that thinking. We're gonna be talking about why not every client is meant to stay forever, how bad clients drain more than just money, and why growth naturally causes certain relationships to fall off. If this helps you think differently about your freelance career, hit that subscribe button. Early in my career, losing a client felt personal. I replayed emails, edits, and conversations trying to figure out what I did wrong. But what you need to realize is sometimes it has nothing to do with you. One of the ways that people can start to lose clients can just because people change roles. People move from different companies, people move at different positions, and sometimes people are no longer working in the same position anymore, and they might be the only person that their company was working with you. And so sometimes you'll lose a full-blown client just because you don't have that contact anymore. On the other side of that, sometimes companies just shift their priorities. They're not doing the same content or creating the same deliverables that they were doing previously, and they no longer want to go in that direction. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just part of the process. Sometimes budgets will get cut from that company or one of your main clients. And because of that, they can no longer do the same type of projects that they've done in the past. And so they might have to cut some things short. When you look at their profit and loss statement, or their balance sheet, or whatever you want to fill in the blank for the accountants out there, when they look at the areas that they have to cut, I will tell you, video is pretty high up on the list because it's not mandatory. It's a nice to have, but it's not going to change your company immediately. You're usually creating content that's going to be changing the face of your company the next 3-6 months down the road. But if you're having cash flow issues today, it's going to get cut. And just know that it's not always about you. Different conversations happen in those buildings and in the offices of your client. Sometimes it has nothing to do with you at all. You just happen to be on the end of that decision that makes it so you don't have work with that client anymore. I've lost clients simply because a contact left the company or priorities changed. None of that meant I failed, but there's another kind of loss that actually helps you. Clients you're better off without. Some of my most damaging clients I've had paid on time and still made my work worse. So some of the things I noticed about clients that made my situation horrible, I'll say the least, is they were always stressed out. They either had personal issues or professional issues. They didn't like what they had to do in their job. And sometimes just the stream goes downhill and it'll hit you as well. And so that's something that I experience, and that's something that I try to look out for, because some people are just naturally always stressed. And I wish nothing but the best for them, but because of that, sometimes it makes it hard to work with them. The next thing that I know I've experienced on a regular basis is clients who second guess your work. And it's funny because sometimes I laugh because I'm like, why did you hire me if you don't believe that I'm able to do this job? And I still can't answer this question to that day, but sometimes people hire you not thinking that you're fully capable of executing the job. So in that situation, it makes it hard because every time you do something, they're second guessing it or they're asking you extra questions, and there's nothing wrong with questions at all. But it gets to a certain point where I'm like, do you even believe I'm capable of doing those things? And so a lot of these issues are microaggressions that happen over time. Or as someone has said to me before, death by 1,000 paper cuts. They're not something really large that hits you over the head. A lot of it is just small micro things that build up over time. And unfortunately, those are some of the things that make you snap sometimes. The other thing that I've seen clients do that makes it difficult to work with them is when they're changing direction constantly. It's a red flag for me if we're not able to put all the deliverables, the timeline, and all the assets and the filming days and the call sheet. When we put all those things together, it's because we both agree this is how we're going to execute the project so that we can have this deliverable at the end of it. And someone who is constantly changing the direction and how we want to execute it, that's a problem. And you need to notice those issues early on so you can start to address them. Like, hey, client A, I noticed that every time we make a decision, you're changing your mind a couple of days later. I think it's important moving forward that every decision that we make, we write it down so we can both have accountability of what we agreed upon. All of these things over time will drain your energy, and then unfortunately, draining your energy and going through all this stress does not make your creativity its strongest. And so I try to avoid these things because it allows me to be a better partner for my clients when I'm not having my energy drained, when I'm not stressed, when I don't think my partner is second guessing me, the person who hired me. And so all these things add up into what can lead to a bad client. I think a lot of people think bad client means, oh, this is just really easy to identify a bad client. Sometimes it's just micro things that happen over time and they grow. I've worked with clients who kept me up at night on a regular basis. It made me question my own instincts. Even when the money was steady, the stress wasn't worth it. Now let's talk about what happens when you start growing. Some early clients that I worked with loved me just because I was affordable, not because I was a right fit for their project. So one of the greatest signs when it's a beautiful opportunity to no longer work with someone is because you've outgrown them. And that can look a couple different ways. So one way that you can outgrow a client, which is where it's a benefit for you, is you've raised your rates. And honestly, raising your rates over time is good because every time you get a new client at a new rate, sometimes that replaces two bad clients or two clients that are paying a lower rate from back in the day. So there's not a lot of people that I have or my company has worked with for a super long time. We've had some long-term clients, but eventually sometimes they'll get priced out because we no longer offer our work at that rate, or our positioning, how we do projects is different. And so sometimes people don't like that anymore and they want to work with somebody else, someone newer in the game or someone who just offers different strategies and processes on how they execute a video. And that's totally fine. I think it's good for that to change up over time so that people can have different experiences with different companies, because I've had some people who have said, we no longer want to work with you because you all do X, Y, and Z. They go work with somebody else. I've had a lot of them come back and say, you know what you were saying really wasn't that bad. When you raise your rates, just know you're naturally going to lose some clients, and that's okay. But again, the new clients who are going to pay that new rate is going to be replacing many of the old clients. And I think that should happen from time to time. You start to value your time more. So for instance, I've had a lot of people stop wanting to work with me because I don't answer calls on the weekend. I don't answer calls on a holiday unless we were pre-scheduled to work that day. And that's because I wanted to make sure I protected my time so that I could be a better worker, so I can be a better partner, so I can be a better creative. Having that Saturday and Sunday off is very important for me. And I saw what happened when I was working all throughout the night, all throughout the day, and on weekends, and on holidays. I lost a lot of friends. My family wasn't hitting me up anymore. They were just like, oh, Eric's never gonna show up because he's too busy. And I didn't like that feeling. And so I had to change some things in my process so I can protect my time. And so there was a lot of people who didn't like that because they wanted someone who was gonna work all night, work on the weekend, because they don't care about my life or my time. I had to protect that. And I think that's one of the big things that a lot of people need to realize is if you have a bad client in a bad situation, it's your fault. And when someone told that to me the first time, I didn't understand. But the reason it's your fault is because you are responsible for protecting your time, not them. You are responsible for putting rules in place so that you don't get taken advantage of, and to enforce those rules so that they happen, not your client. A lot of people will say, oh, my clients don't respect, how I do things. It's not for them to respect it. It's for you to enforce it. And I think that's the difference. And so once I realized that, I lost a lot of clients, but the new people that I was working with, it was a lot easier and I was able to do better work, and they were at higher rates. Some of the bad clients that I've had were unfortunately when I was doing lower rate stuff. But as I started to get higher rate stuff, I noticed that there was a shift and people started to treat me better. When I raised my prices after realizing peers were making significantly more for similar work, some clients walked away. It wasn't rejection, it was alignment. But money isn't the only reason that clients disappear. Boundaries, they matter too. The moment I stopped working nights and weekends, some clients, they stopped calling me altogether. I started protecting my time when I was on a shoot, and one of the audio people we were working with, I heard someone say, don't call her because she's not gonna answer the phone on the weekend. And it was the smallest thing ever. But once I heard that, I'm like, yo, I didn't know we can do that. And a lot of people don't realize that you can do these things because nobody's gonna tell you that these things can happen. It's up to you to make sure that they happen. And so if you want to only work 4 days a week, or if you don't want to work on the weekend, you can put that in place. But just know that you're also gonna have to enforce it. And the reason I wanted to end up doing these things is because it made my quality of life better, my quality of work better. And I just felt like if I'm gonna be doing a marathon of trying to build this business and my career, I needed to stop getting burnt out. I was doing all-nighters on a regular basis, and that will burn you out quick to the point where I didn't want to do anything. I just felt like my life was just wasting away. And so I had to put certain pillars in my life, career-wise, so that I can be here for the long haul. One of the most important things that I had to build stamina up for is being able to say no. It's easy to say yes, but no is going to protect you more. The unfortunate thing is people who say no more are sometimes misunderstood. They're put in a certain category, but also know that that person is on top of taking care of themselves, and they know what their value is. And a lot of people, unfortunately, don't like to work with people who know their value because they're harder to take advantage of to a certain degree. And so once you understand the power of being able to say no, you're going to realize that the yeses are much more plentiful and they're much more fruitful because you're saying yes to the right things, not just the things that are coming to you, so to speak. Every time you work with a client, it should help you refine your process. So a lot of people look at my production company, Digify, and they'll say, man, you all got it really going on. Y'all have a beautiful process. That process is built easily over a decade. And it was micro adjustments every time we had a new client. Almost every project that we work on, we have a meeting with the team after to talk about what went well and what didn't go so well. And that allows us to make micro adjustments. So every year, every project, we're getting a little bit better. And so I implore you to do the same thing because you're not going to be able to make all these processes happen overnight. These things will happen over time. But if you start doing that 1% change, next time you work with a client, you're going to get better over time. I used to say yes to everything and the work was nonstop in a bad way. When I changed how I worked, some clients disappeared, but my business, for some reason, became healthier and it led me to where I am today. Losing clients isn't always a warning sign. Sometimes it's proof that you're setting standards, valuing yourself, and building a career that's actually sustainable. Here's a tip. Look at the last client you lost and ask yourself honestly whether your stress level went down afterward. If it did, that loss may have been a win. So I want you to answer this in the comments down below. What's one boundary you know you need to set, even if it risks losing a client? Now do me a favor and subscribe for more honest conversations about freelancing and building a sustainable creative career. I'm Eric D. Seals. Keep telling stories that matter.
Hi, I'm Eric Seals. I'm the tape man. Cameraman!